Early video games did not have save features because they did not need them. Most early video games were sufficiently short that a player could complete them in a single session. But there are some early video games about which I wonder that did not have save features, and I must ask how exactly the makers expected the player to complete those in a single session. I shall specifically mention several early Nintendo games. Now, the original Super Mario Bros. Can feasibly be completed in a single session. If the player uses the warp zones, of course, completing the game in a single session is quite easy, but even if one does not use the warp zones, it is not too unrealistic to complete the original game in one sitting. No. The Super Mario Brothers is very straightforward and linear. Yes, of course, there are some twists and turns and challenges in it, but it is a fairly straightforward game, and that, of course, is part of its charm. But, however, I must wonder about the original Legend of Zelda and the original Metroid, also for the NES. Those two games do not have save features, although I've played the original Legend of Zelda through its entirety. I have not yet played the original Metroid through its entirety, although I hope to do so at some point. But I know those two games are not linear or straightforward. They involve great amounts of open exploration. So I have to wonder how it is that the people at Nintendo actually expected a player to complete either of those games in a single sitting, a single session, or perhaps it is games of that nature that helped video game developers to even have the idea in the first place for save features. Yes, perhaps it was the length and open nature of those two games that made people realize that a player may not be able to complete them in a single session. So I wish to open this discussion to other people here now. For those of you who are around my age or perhaps several years older, for those of you who are old enough to have played NES games when the system was initially released, how could a player realistically complete the original Legend of Zelda or the original Metroid in a single session? Could that really be done or not? And do you think that the length of those two games was what helped video game programmers to realize that they needed a way to save their progress? So I would be very interested to hear your thoughts on this matter. Thank you very much, everyone.